Welcome to Tekedia Daily. I'm Ndubuisi Ekekwe. A conversation today will focus on the Dangote group and how you can actually get the kind of government support that the Dangote group enjoys. You know, over the last few days, when I shared some perspectives about how you can become rich by actually following the Dangote group, accumulation of capability strategy. A lot of people make comments that this global conglomerate has actually received significant support from the Nigerian government. So it's like, oh, if not for the government support, that this conglomerate would not have done extremely well as it has. I respectfully disagree with them because Dangote started as a trader and he figured out how he could work himself into the pinnacle of capitalism of where he is today. And some of these constructs that he enjoys today in Nigeria, I say they are typical in the asset heavy conglomerate empires around the world. And I'll make this case in this conversation. For you to position yourself for growth, you have to look for government support, you have to look for specific sectors they are always asset heavy. You need to invest a significant amount of capital and they also long term and they have a lot of risk. So it's a very different thing when somebody wants to deploy $15 billion in a specific industrial sector. In that case, you can't do that without having a conversation with government. It's a different thing when somebody wants to invest $1 million. You can go ahead and do that without a conversation with government. If you think you can invest $15 billion without having a conversation with government, it means that your own strategy is actually defective. Government must be to be a part of it because you are going to take a very significant risk in that specific country. So I call this the conglomerate tax. This is the tax every one of us pays because most times governments will subsidize certain things the conglomerates do. But that is the only way most times government can actually get them in order for them to actually take action. Because if they don't do that, most times we don't have those benefits. They work at the upstream of any specific industrial sector. They never work at the downstream. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. And it's not just only Dangote. Of course, if you go to companies around the world, those building nuclear plants, seaports, refineries, they are always the favored one. You go to General Electric, it was a time he never paid any tax for years in America. A time of Tekedia. This man was getting free lands to build railroads. Boeing, there is this dual contrast strategy in the defense industry in US, where Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and few others, they are always coming together to get a lot of goodies from the US government. But the US government understood one thing. Without that massive commitment of the accumulation of capability that these companies are investing in, there are some strategic things that the government cannot do. The US government cannot build atomic bombs. The US government cannot build those jets fighters because they don't know how to make them. But there are companies that have built these capabilities over the years. And for them to invest in those long-term technical capability building, most times the government has to make them feel good. So for them to be the favored ones, they have to do something at the pen level where the government needs help. The Dangote group got very favorable electricity bill in Ethiopia and Tanzania. But I'll tell you something, that if you think that they are getting good deals, I tell you there are other industrial sectors that are also available for people to get deals. And it's a question that when you think about these foreign investors or you think about these local investors, they will not necessarily go into some specific sectors if they are not sure what government wants to do over a long time. Because they don't want a policy somersault. You are putting $15 billion, all of a sudden government changes policy within 3 months. What are you going to do, your investors? So that's why that conversation is critical. That is why you have to get it in writing from government. That is why, even as an infant industry you want to pioneer, you don't want to deploy capital and other people will just jump in. And all of a sudden, the erosion of the utilization of the capital becomes a very huge issue and you have run into difficulties. So I'm not saying that competition must not be followed. I'm not saying that market forces must not drive what we do. But you have to understand this, that is the part of it. And I tell you something, what I call the conglomerates. If you want to get benefit just like Dangote, you have to play here. This is the upstream sector and not the downstream sector. This is where value is created. And this is where the government has the highest spend level at national and local level. If you are playing here, you are just serving a low paying, and government will not care. Government does not have any incentive to give you a very favorable foreign exchange because there are so many people coming here playing at this level, traders, distributors. I mean, they can always find new people if they want. If you don't want to participate, the next day they'll find people. So many people are available, and it's extremely competitive. Value is not necessarily created, and government is never in a state of loss. But when you come here, you see Dangote, GE, Grupa Castle, that is the company owned by Carlos Slim, the Mexican billionaire. These are people, they continue to get a lot of help from their different governments because they are solving problems that are actually very, very high value. Not necessarily high value in terms of uh, the solution, but also high paying because government wants those solutions to be solved. Let's say, for instance, the government wants to build a nuclear plant. A government wants somebody that can invest in the technology. A government wants to build a very strong military equipment. And government doesn't have the capability to do that. Government may say, okay, I want you to invest the next 30 years to help me get this technology. And are you saying that government doesn't have to offer something? It doesn't work hard that way. So government has to bring something on the table. And most times we think that those things are not fair because the guy that is importing toothpicks or the guy that is making toothbrush or the guy that is pouring sand or mixing cement or trading cement is not getting anything. Why the guy that is building plant for that is getting a lot of value? I tell you something, it is the tax everyone pays to conglomerate because we subsidize what they do most times. But if you want to get the goodies they get, you have to transition anything you are doing, move from this downstream into the upstream because this is where the government has the highest level of pain. In Nigeria today, we are looking for people to build seaports, looking for people to build airports, looking for people to build semiconductor plants. And if you tomorrow you have, let's say, $4 billion to build a seaport, I promise you the Nigerian government will give you one goodie. And if you have, let's say, $1 billion to build a world-class airport, maybe in southeastern part of Nigeria, or maybe in somewhere in the northeastern part of Nigeria, I am very confident that one of the state government will give you a very good, great goodie. But if you don't have anything, what you are importing is toothpicks. And you are expecting government to care. You're wasting your time because you are not meeting the high pain points at the national level or at the state level. And they don't care because this place, the barrier of entry is so low. There are always many people that are coming in. But here is where the big guys are. You need to be talking in billions of dollars for them to actually get your attention. And so what the Nigerian government is doing, most people talk about the Dangote group, is typical. Carlos Slim gets a lot of benefit from the Mexican government. GE gets from US government. Kennedy enjoy free land. Lockheed Martin and all these empires, you pay the corporation, the conglomerate tax. And I want you to get this perspective, people. We are not talking about that government must begin to realign the equilibrium point in the markets. But what I'm trying to say here is that if you want to get the same level of benefits, it is time for you to transition from serving at the downstream sector of the economy into the upstream sector, because this is where the goodies are localized. You are listening to Tekedia Daily. Thank you.